Okay, it's 7 o'clock. Time to start. For our water conservation in Butte County. We want to welcome you all and thank you for joining us for our third and final panel on water. I am Sue Ellen Rollison, a member of our local league's Natural Resources Committee, along with Chair Tony Reed and our Zoom facilitator tonight, Cindy Cummins. So our first Zoom presentation looked at where our water comes from in Paradise, Chico, Oroville, and other areas in Butte County. The second session studied agencies that oversee water distribution in Butte County. The second session studied agencies that oversee water distribution in Butte County, such as Paradise Irrigation District, Butte County's Table A water from Lake Oroville, and the Vina Groundwater Sustainability Agency. The previous sessions are available on the League's website under event recordings, as this presentation itself will also be there too, and resources. We'll have a list of resources that you can check afterwards. Tonight, we have 4 speakers representing urban water distribution, large-scale landscape irrigation, and neighborhood habitat program. I will tell you a little about the speakers first, then they will follow in the same order. We will take your questions after all the 4 panelists have completed. And so please write your questions in the chat feature on your screen. So to start with, we have Evan Markey. He is the district manager for the Chico, California Water Service. Previously, he served as the conservation coordinator for Cal Water. His associate is Anthony Meyer, who is the North Regional Conservation Coordinator for California Water Services. He studied water conservation through the American Water Works Association and at Santiago College, which is in Southern California. Then is Mike Alonzo. He has been supervisor of grounds and landscape service at California State University, Chico, for the past 10 years. And he has worked on several large-scale irrigation systems, including high-end golf courses. Currently, the grounds department of Chico State has been converting areas on campus from lawn to California natives and drought-tolerant landscaping. Our final presenter is Carla Resnick. She is a coordinator of AltaCal Audubon's Neighborhood Habitat Program. The focus of the program is to support wildlife in a water-wise manner. Spending time hiking, birding, and gardening in Northern California provides her with much to observe and ponder in the service of the program's focus. So with that, I will turn over to the first presenter, who is Evan Markey with Cal Water.
All right, thank you, Sue. And we will get our screen up here in just 1 second and jump in. Thank you for your patience. All right, thank you. Yes, I am Evan Markey. I'm the district manager for California Water Service here in Chico. And we're going to be talking about water conservation and what we are doing and what you can do. I also have with me tonight Anthony Meyer, who is our Northern Region Conservation Coordinator, as we already mentioned. And Anthony, if we can advance, please.
You not see it?
No, I'm still seeing the title screen.
Let me stop the share. It looked like something happened. Quick. Let's try that again. It kicked me all the way out of Zoom. I had to get back on.
All right. Once again, thank you for your patience. Inevitably, we always have technical challenges on these Zoom calls.
Hey, guys.
Okay, thank you. So just a quick overview of our district here in Chico. We serve almost 110,000 people through nearly 31,000 connections, and that includes both Chico and Hamilton City. We run both those service areas out of our Chico office. Also in Butte County, we have our Oroville district, which serves nearly 11,000 people through 3,700 service connections. And in all of our districts throughout the state, we monitor our water supply conditions daily. And one of our top priorities is ensuring reliable supply of water now and into the future. Next slide, please. So we're going to go over some the most recent developments with the drought, and you can see this was updated actually today. You can see kind of the map of the state there, and a majority of the state is either in severe drought, extreme drought, or exceptional drought. So that's a pretty good graphic to see just how severe this current drought is, and you know the forecasts aren't looking good. So we have to do everything in our power to make sure that we are doing everything we can to conserve water. You know, as it says down there at the bottom, nearly 92% of the state is in severe or extreme drought, or severe to exceptional drought, excuse me. Thank you, Anthony. And recently, going back to March 28, Governor Newsom issued an executive order calling on all water utilities to move into stage 2 of their water shortage contingency plans. And we filed ours on April 22nd for our Chico and Oroville districts. And that stage 2 really does include the most important parts of that stage 2 are the water day restrictions. So for even addresses, you're only allowed to water 2 days. That would be Wednesday and Sunday. Odd addresses, Tuesday and Saturday, and there is no watering between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. And so we filed those restrictions on April 22nd, and they went into effect on May 22nd of 2022. And here's a look at how we've been doing from a conservation perspective. The target set by the governor is a 15% reduction based on the same month in 2020. So since May, we have been tracking close to those numbers. We've been kind of hovering between 10 and 13% here in Chico and Hamilton City. So while we're not meeting those numbers, we are doing really well. And in the next slide, I will touch on kind of why we think we're not meeting those numbers. We have experienced nearly a 14% population growth over the last 10 years. And a lot of that obviously has to do with the campfire and folks relocating down here. So the numbers that we report to the state and that get reported out to the public as far as our conservation, those are based on our total production. What we look, if you look down at the bottom, the GPCD, what that stands for is gallons per capita per day. And what that means is how much an average resident of Chico is using per day. So if you see going back to 2012, we've cut it nearly 40, or I think it's like 32%. So I don't think the numbers that you know, if we're saying we're only somewhere between 10 and 13% reduction, that doesn't really tell the whole story. Our customers really are trying to do their part to conserve water in their everyday life. The next slide, I think we're going to look at our Oroville conservation numbers, and they have been doing very well. As you know, also they have been over the 15%. I think you know, tracking anywhere from 15 to 20% on a month-by-month basis. So our customers in Butte County are really doing their part. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Anthony to take it from here.
Thank you, Evan, and good evening, everybody. I really appreciate the opportunity to be able to share a little bit about what we do in conservation. I am the conservation coordinator for the northern districts, and I am just one of many moving parts in our conservation team at Cal Water. Biggest part of our job and our role is we're always trying to think outside the box and come up with new programs and new ways that we can incentivize our customers, really engaging in the conservation programs and the rebates that we have available. And the biggest aspect of that is really just making sure that people are aware of that. And so outreach is a key component to that. Just engaging with our customer base is a huge key component to that, because, you know, the separation of two lines on a graph may look slightly minuscule, but there's a lot of work that's been done to achieve those kind of goals. And really it boils down to our customers really, you know, picking up and carrying that weight. So that being said, I don't want to bore you with too much tech stuff. I'm kind of a geek, but the data is important because it shows us that we are on the right path and that we're moving in the right direction. So what we've done recently is we've actually been able to see a direct correlation between the amount of customer engagement in our conservation programs and directly after that, a significant reduction in water consumption. So it's cool because we can track it. We can see that when people are really jump on and engage with what we have available, there's an immediate response in the months right afterwards. And in most cases, those are long-term. Those aren't short-term. They're changing their lawns over to drought tolerant landscaping. They're putting in new fixtures that are much more efficient water-wise. So it's a nice thing to be able to look and see that we're actually doing, what we're doing on our side is actually translating to water savings on the customer side. So one of the biggest things that we do with our outreach, and it's kind of ironic because now we're not looking at the 110-degree days where I actually had to turn my heater on probably for the first time this year, a couple of days ago. But now is a good time as any to start thinking about our irrigation systems and what we have to look forward to this next summer coming around. Fun fact, and a lot of people are not aware of, is that as much as 70% of domestic water use in California is applied outdoors. And that's almost always all toward irrigation. And in the most parts of that, it's turf. So a good thing that you can do at home or even with your business is do a thorough evaluation of your irrigation system. Turn it on. You want to look for leaks and, just put eyes on it because typically it runs when we're not paying attention and there's a lot of stuff that could be going on. We want to make sure we're adjusting our watering schedules so that we're, not overwatering and we're meeting, our watering requirements. In most cases, if you don't already have one, installing a smart irrigation controller is very helpful because they're weather-based. So they're going to communicate and find out whether it's supposed to be raining that day, and it's going to actually tell your controller not to run on days that it's also going to be raining or there's high precipitation. Another great way to conserve water is if you have spray sprinklers that are watering bushes or shrubs or plants, it's fairly wasteful. There's a much more efficient way of doing it by converting that over to drip irrigation. And definitely high impact is what we talked about earlier, even what they're doing at the Mike will talk about a little bit at the campus, but doing large scale conversions of taking a second look at those large areas of ornamental turf and really decide if it's functional, is it something you use for recreation, or can you convert it to more drought friendly landscaping? There's a lot of beautiful options out there that in many cases look even cooler than that green grass that we like looking at and playing on. So instead of just giving a list of people to try to figure this stuff out, what we've done recently is we have rolled out a program that we call our Smart Landscape Tune-Up Program. Basically what this program entails is we have partnered with 2 landscape contractors that have a statewide reach. So on our website, you can sign up for this program. It just takes a couple minutes. And what will follow is one of those landscape contractors will contact you and schedule an appointment to come out to your office or home or business. And when they get there, they're going to do a very thorough evaluation of your existing irrigation system. When they're there, they're going to look for broken equipment, maybe some outdated stuff, anything that's broken or leaking. In many cases, they're going to recommend installing a weather-based irrigation controller. So they're going to make this big laundry list of things that can maximize and improve your irrigation system at home. But instead of just handing you that list as a to-do list for you, we've actually taken it a step further. So they're going to give us that list. We're going to review it. And as long as it's within the scope of our program, we're going to approve it. And then they're going to call that customer and schedule a second appointment, at which time they're going to come out to that home or business and they're going to perform all of these repairs, installation of new equipment, everything completely free of charge to you as a Cal Water customer. So they actually do all the work. They send us the bill and we pick up the entire tab. So as you can imagine, this has become a very, very popular program since we first rolled it out. So much so that there's even a little bit of a waiting list. But like I said, this is impactful during the summer months. So now is a great time to sign up for something like this and get it done in the cooler months. As always, we have rebates on all the standard stuff, high efficient clothes washers, toilets, irrigation controllers. Like I said, we have a lawn to garden program and spray to drip conversion program for residential customers. And we also have the same for our commercial customers. I think we're going to share this slide deck later so you can scan that QR code. It will actually take you directly to our rebates page and you can read into all the different things that we have available for our customers. Last but not least, we still always have the conservation kits. This is a box of conservation goodies that's completely free. We will send it to your house free of charge. It comes with 2 high-efficient shower heads. It's got faucet aerators for all of your faucets, 2 bathroom ones and 1 for your kitchen. And it's got a efficient garden hose nozzle also. And it does come with a pack of leak detection tablets, which you can use to identify leaks in your toilets that often go undetected. Always recommend, last but not least, go to our website, check out our conservation page. You can find fact sheets, tip sheets of really cool things that you can do at home. You can sign up for informational mailings and make recommendations for customer outreach program. And you can follow our social media so you can always stay current on any new drought information that arises and also any new conservation programs that we roll out. So I think that's my time, and I'll kick it back, but I thank you for the opportunity to share.
Great, thank you. Good to hear about all those opportunities coming our way from Cal Water.
Absolutely.
Hey, Mike, you're next.
Okay, let me pick up. I'll need the screen sharing enabled on mine. If I could, please.
Let's see. There you go. Try that. Try again.
All right, there we go. Oops. Got it.
Ah, very good.
Come on, here we go. There we go. All right. So yes, thanks for having me here. Again, my name is Mike Alonzo. I'm the grounds landscape manager at Chico State. And yeah, building on what Cal Water just shared with us, I'm gonna just go over some case studies really of where we have converted spaces on campus, starting with areas that we either changed the irrigation system from spray to drip, or converted turf to native drought tolerant landscaping, and then also address the irrigation as well. So just a quick look at campus itself. As you can see from this map, we do have a lot of green space, a lot of big play fields throughout. So certainly a lot, we do use our fair share of water, but where we can save water, we've been doing what we can to make some significant reductions. We're about a 130 acre campus, and all of it is irrigated. And over the past several years, a lot of factors have led to some major changes campus-wide, with climate being a big driver, as well as several large construction projects. We have 2 brand new buildings on campus. We're about to start on our third building on campus. Personally, our group has gone through a number of staffing levels, so addressing labor and trying to make things easier for staff, so we're not always toiling over ornamental shrubs, so meaning working to install more natives, and then also employing improved technology. So we'll talk about smart controllers as well. Addressing all these things has really given us a good sense of what we can achieve from the ground up. The persistent drought conditions over the last 10 plus years have really been the catalyst for change, and the pictures you see here are from our Brown is the New Green campaign from 2016, where through some state mandates, we shut the water off to a lot of lawns on campus. We did some of this strategically, knowing that there were going to be new buildings coming online. So we cut water to those spaces, anticipating they would be demolished and rebuilt anyways, and then started to address smaller pockets of campus where we had lawns that really didn't feel it was necessary to put the manpower into mowing it, fertilizing it, irrigating it, weed control, et cetera, et cetera. So in that effort in 2016, we cut water to over 8 acres of turf, and we were able to meet our conservation goals there. I think we maybe even exceeded them by a few percentage points. Around this time, I think it was 2017 or so, the Campus Vegetation and Arboretum Committee also known as CVAC, was reestablished during these years, and that committee advises facilities management and services, otherwise known as FMS, as to which plant material landscape practices would help develop habitat and boost diversity, among several other benefits. So they've been a great ally to kind of help direct us and help me spread the word to our staff that we need to get away from camellias and agapanthus and more traditional ornamental plants and really look at California natives and pollinator plants. So with that being said, our first case study was the Student Services Center bioswale. Some of you may have been on campus recently. If not, I encourage you to pay us a visit. We've done a lot of good work over the last several years. But real quick, the Student Services Center bioswale was a piece of land adjacent to the courtyard that you see here. And the Student Services Center was brought online, I believe, in 2008, 2009. And this courtyard out here was originally all paver materials. And I think within the first year, all those pavers started to settle and buckle and cause lots of tripping hazards. So unfortunately, we had to come back in and pull up all of those pavers and reset it with concrete. But in order to do so, as it was a construction project, they needed space for equipment and construction trailers to be laid down. So they laid materials down in our very young bioswale at the time. So where my arrow was hovering there on the left, they set up shop. However, that area is a main campus gateway. It's one of the main entry points into campus. And after the construction was done, the landscape planting that went back in didn't take very well. It was not the original landscaping, and it really kind of struggled for many years and eventually turned back into weeds and dirt. So when I arrived, this is more or less what I was faced with, was this site at one of our main entry points. So within a year or so, my director tasked me with, hey, let's get this corridor dressed up. We really need to make this attractive. However, we were in drought conditions. We were under drought mandates. So in order to do so, we had to get a little creative and dig a little deeper than just putting new plants in. So we did our best work to convert all of the overhead spray to drip, and worked with the local landscape architect to get some conceptual renderings, of which our staff took those pictures and just ran with them. We got all the materials. We did all of the work in-house. And we turned this space into this space. It's one of my favorite spots on campus. And again, by converting the overhead irrigation to drip, bringing in the correct type of plants, it's almost all California native plants. We were able to turn this into a very beautiful, calm spot where you can sit down, grab a bite to eat. And we don't use much water there at all. Building on the success of the Student Services bioswale, we started to turn our sights to the larger areas on campus where we had turned off the irrigation to lawns. The YOLO lawn project, our second case study here, what you see on the screen, was just a big flat lawn area that was used occasionally by the folks in the building you see here, which is YOLO Hall. YOLO Hall holds the kinesiology department, and so they do step outside of the classroom and do exercises and activities outdoors. So there was a use for the space, but it really wasn't beneficial to them since it was thin, dry, hard as a rock, and it took us hours and hours of irrigation each week to keep it sort of green. When YOLO Hall was built, this site was where all the construction materials, equipment, and trailers were laid down, so the ground itself was otherwise hard as a rock. So our first idea was to just build a second, larger version of the bioswale that we had at Student Services Center. But before we broke ground, we took a step back and took the time to ask the users of the building, hey, you know, here's what we're thinking about doing. What would you like to see? And they came back strongly that they really wanted a lawn. Again, kinesiology is there. They wanted to take some of their classes outdoors. They could do stretches, do some outdoor workouts. There's also an autism clinic that looks out towards that space. So it's a great opportunity to take those students outdoors to see some sights, get some fresh air. And so we understood that we had to create a lawn space, but at the same time, we're trying to reduce lawn space because of the thirsty nature of grass. So the only way we could really justify building a lawn was to ensure that we installed a highly efficient irrigation system. Now, under the best case scenario, overhead sprinklers, if designed absolutely to precision with no wind, in the best conditions ever, you could probably get 70% efficiency on the high end. So imagine a lawn with slopes and wind and all, you know, occasional vandalism like we do get on campus. We needed to do better than 70%. So we turned to subsurface irrigation. So what you see here is just a little sample of what we worked with. To be more specific, the product we used was Hunter EcoMat. And EcoMat irrigates from the root zone below using a capillary action. It draws water up, so you water exactly where you need it. And you can achieve nearly 100% efficiency. It was a huge area. It was about 6,000 square feet. Am I already close to running out of time? No. My timer going off here. Sorry. So we still were able to install 2 bioswales. We then covered the EcoMat in some soil, put some sod over the top of it, and ta-da, created a beautiful space. This was back in 2016 when we built it. We, of course, added drip. We converted all the irrigation to drip, brought in California native plants and a few trees. And this was the finished product just a few days after we had planted it. So just to recall, this is how we started. And this is a picture just last winter. So another successful spot.
Very nice.
Just checking on time. My timer went off here, but I might have
That's
not
about
set
it,
it.
I think.
That is
Can
time.
you wrap it up?
Yeah. Let me just jump ahead real quick. Just a note, you know, we have also been working to adjust our irrigation controllers, and working with Cal Water, we've done a lot of work to convert our controllers over to smart controllers, weather-based controllers, using a lot of their rebate programs as well. So, so big thanks to them. They've been great partners with us through this project. Okay.
Very good. Thank you very much. It's very inspiring to see what has transpired at Chico State
Thanks.
under your work.
Thank you.
And thanks for your working along with Cal Water too. That's another good thing about Chico.
Yeah.
Okay. On to Carla Resnick, please, with Audubon.
I think Mike is still sharing his screen.
Oh, let me unshare. There you go.
Okay. Can you see my screen, Waterwise Plants and Resources?
Yes.
Thank you. So my name is Carla Resnick. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for inviting me to present on this panel. I'm the volunteer coordinator for the Altacal Audubon Certified Neighborhood Habitat Program. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the program and then share some resources, talk about native plants and share some resources. We provide information, resources. Excuse me? We provide information resources to help people transition their lawns to habitat. We call it restoration. We have a information packet that may be downloaded. It's not currently on the Altica website, but I've put it on the Waterwise Chico website that I use for our garden tour. So you can download it from this waterwisechico.wordpress.com website, or you may email me. There's my email address, which I'll have up on a number of slides. The packet has a self-assessment, plant recommendations, demonstration gardens to visit, which maybe I need to add the campus now, and guidelines for certification and more. And upon certification, you may request this attractive sign to display in your yard. It's a real conversation starter. We have certified more than 100 yards. I do a twice per year email newsletter, a biennial garden tour. The next one is in 2024. We just had one in May this year, in partnership with the California Native Plant Society, and of course, the yard certifications for restored yards. So why choose native plants? They are adapted to our climate. There are many drought tolerant options, options for most sites, including soil, hard soil, sun to shade. It covers the gamut. They are well associated with our wildlife, and they are relatively low maintenance, and they are best planted in autumn, which to take advantage of the fall rain. So right now is the time to do it. And here's a beautiful blue elderberry, which I'll talk about a little bit more later. And this is a great California native. Here's an example of where California natives replace a lawn. This is an excellent spot for California natives. It's very heavy soil. It slopes toward the street, and it's in full sun. So a lawn in this situation will cause a lot of wasted water, a lot of runoff because of the spray irrigation. In fact, you can see to the right, there is a lawn there. And when I visited this site, there was water in the gutter from the lawns. California native plants, they're easy to water with drip irrigation, and they also require far less water than lawns. Furthermore, look at all these flowers. The biodiversity is amazing. This yard had California quail nesting in it. They nested in here and raised babies in this yard right beside the driveway. Lawns require watering 2 to 3 times per week. They require frequent mowing. You pay someone to mow it, you do it yourself. Fertilizer, weed control, raking, blowing, all of that stuff. California natives, you water them 1 to 3 times per month. Minimal maintenance work. The leaves, you just let the leaves fall and decompose in place. It adds to your soil. So I'm going to talk about some recommended California native plants. Trees, the valley oak, the blue oak, shrubs, the blue elderberry, toyon, white leaf manzanita. This is just touching on a few that we recommend. Medium shrubs, Cleveland sage, not native to our region. It is a California native, but it really is a standout plant. And some perennials, foothill penstemon, California fuchsia, and yarrow. These are excellent plants to start with. Here's the blue oak. It's a very slow growing tree. It prefers full sun, but will tolerate part shade. And it tolerates water up to once per month. That doesn't mean it prefers it. So you can plant it with other natives that need once per month watering, and it'll be fine. And this is the key point with the blue oak and with the valley oak and other oaks in our region. They are a host plant to many insects, and that makes them a keystone species because the birds come and feed on the insects, on the caterpillars and that. So that's why having these oak trees is very important for wildlife. Here's the blue elderberry. This is the most important source of food for birds in California. So if you have room to plant an elderberry shrub, they are pretty big shrubs, but you should definitely plant one. It is also the host of the Valley Elderberry Longhorn beetle, which is protected by the Endangered Species Act. This is the Cleveland sage that I mentioned earlier. Once per month water maximum. It makes a big, beautiful mound, takes full sun, attracts butterflies and hummingbirds, has very pleasantly scented foliage, and has these beautiful dried seed heads. I have one of these in my yard, and it's just an amazing, stunning plant. Once per month water. Foothill penstemon. These are lovely in the spring, beautiful flowers, attractive for hummingbirds, especially, and bees. Water 3 times per month. You can see that it's per month, not per week. So it's gonna save so much water and beautify your yard. California fuchsia. Oh my goodness. 2 times a year, this puts on a display of these beautiful flowers. Takes full sun, once per month water max, stunning blooms. This is like the most prolific hummingbird attracting plant. And it also hosts many butterflies and moths. It will spread by seed and by rhizome. So that is a consideration. It might get a little bit too much for some people, but if you will have a space for it to take over, all the better. Oops. Where did I go? I think I got out of order here. Oh, here we go. Okay, resources. So I'm going to talk a little bit about this plant database, calscape.org, because it's really important. And it's an excellent resource. But there are some local nurseries where you can buy these plants. Floral Native Nursery, they moved up to Meridian Road and off 99, north of town. Harvest and Habitat Nursery is kind of a new place in town on Park Avenue, and they have quite a few natives. It's a Bloom certified nursery, which is a California Native Plant Society thing. Magnolia Gift and Garden has some natives, and Fair Street Nursery is another newish place that I've heard has good native plants. And then there are some demonstration gardens. You can go check out what these plants look like in the ground. The Gateway Science Museum is great. Beautiful garden. Many, many different plants in there. The Gardens at Patrick Ranch, they have a native habitat section of their gardens created by the Butte County Master Gardeners. And the Chico Creek Nature Center has a garden, native plant garden on that property. And I'm going to add to this the Chico State campus. So this is the the CalScape database, this is going to help a lot with finding plants that are good for your spot. So what you can do is you go to calscape.org, and it's free. It's put in your I put in this the zip code 95928. You put in your address or zip code, your town. It serves you up plants in categories. So it says there are 494 plants that are native to this area. It gives you the GPS coordinates. Categorized in trees, shrubs, perennials, or sun, shade, part shade, or good for butterflies, or very easy, or very low water. So you get to choose that way to narrow it down. You click on those sections, and it drills down. And the next page is the oops. This is the plant listing that you get. This is a Western redbud, beautiful, beautiful native plant. So here it has about the plant, and it tells you a very nice description of the plant. It has pictures of the plant. It shows you the map of the range of this plant in its native sections. And then it has the plant description here with the size, the shape, how fast it grows, tons of great information. And then it tells you the wildlife that it supports: hummingbirds, other birds, insects, butterflies. And very importantly, I think it also has this link here, nurseries which carry this plant. So you can click on that and see if it's in town, or maybe if you really want to get that plant, you order it from someplace. So the Cascade database is really a great tool for helping to select plants. If you make a free account through this, you can then make a plant list by clicking add to my plant list. So you can create this plant list, print it out probably, and say, here, I need all of these plants or whatnot. And that is all from me. I think I sped through that very quickly, but thank you very much. And here's a little Anna's hummingbird that nested. She made 3 broods on my string lights one year. And there's my email address again. And there's the waterwisechico.wordpress.com, where you can find the packet, the resources and like that, or you can email me for that. So
thank you so much, Carla. That was wonderful. Lots of great resources for us all. Now we have a time for Q&A, and that will be handled by Tony Reed and maybe a backup person if she gets cut off.
Thank you, Sue Ellen. I have a fairly difficult data Wi-Fi system, so I sometimes freeze, and Helen Giesick will pick it up if that happens. We did have a few questions to start with, and the first one is for Mike. And Mike, we wondered if the university is thinking or using now recycled water. If not, is that part of your future plans? And also, maybe you could tell us how the student body and the faculty have responded to all of these changes on campus.
Sure. So we currently do not use any recycled water. It's been discussed at some pretty high levels, but the last really big discussion we had was that it would require some pretty serious infrastructure to be built out so we could bring in recycled water maybe from the water treatment facility. But more locally, we have had some discussions on how to capture what's called condensate. With all of our HVAC systems on our big buildings, we do create quite a bit of condensate on the pipes, and the way it's designed, that condensate filters down and gets sent out into the storm drain system. But where we've located that condensate, it really hasn't amounted to much, but we are starting to put our eyes on where some of the larger buildings create enough condensate volume that we could perhaps collect that in a tank and maybe save it and pump it out into a drought tolerant landscape setting somewhere. And we're also looking at perhaps what we could change at our central plant to maybe collect some of the water that is used there for all of our cooling and heating functions. As far as the students and the staff and faculty of the Chico State community, we've got, I think, really good feedback on the work that we've done. We've, like the last project that I showed, the YOLO landscape, that was done in partnership with the kinesiology department. They chipped in some funds as well to help support that project. So they've used it. It's now a great gathering site for some campus events. Also post-graduation, that's just outside our stadium where we hold our graduation event. So now people can exit the stadium, congregate there, take pictures, gather with their family instead of just, kind of walking past this dead patch of grass and back into the center of campus. So I think generally it's been very well received. If anything, it's been maybe a bit to get our staff, like I said, to kind of change their mindset a bit to use a different plant palette. So, but yeah, I think it's been otherwise very well received.
Good, good. Glad to hear that. Carla, there was I'm trying to find it again here on my, there was a question in chat for you.
Okay.
If you have a front lawn with native shrubs and grasses, what is the best way to irrigate? Hand watering when needed, drip?
That is for sure a finely tuned drip irrigation system that you will know exactly how much water is going to go into for each plant. You can put, if you put plants together with some needing a little bit more water and some needing a little bit less water, you can run the whole system and just have more emitters on the plant that requires more. Whereas with hand watering, a lot of people, they don't water enough when they have water. They just kind of give it a sprinkle and it doesn't really penetrate. I don't know what was the other option there. And the other important thing is to just mulch like crazy to conserve, to keep the water that you've applied in the soil.
Okay, thank you. This is for Evan or Anthony, whichever wants to answer. Has there been a good response with the Eye on Water app and smart meters?
I would say yes. However, we do have a limited number of smart meters actually deployed within our system. So we are going to be proposing in the very near future to install smart meters on all of our meters throughout Chico and throughout the state. But at this point, there's only a very small portion of our customers here in Chico that actually have those and we call them automated metering infrastructure meters, but those smart meters where you can track your usage on a minute by minute basis and get alerts if you have water continuously running. So we haven't really fully deployed that yet, but anecdotally, the customers that do have them really seem to enjoy them, and they love the added functionality and notifications that the Eye on Water app does provide.
Thank you. There is another question for you as well. This is concerning new subdivisions. Does Cal Water work with the city as far as the planning on any new subdivisions to try and encourage the landscaping to be native plants and water-wise plants?
So we really don't have a role in the planning and plan check and approval in regards to the city's landscape. We do work with them, and I think Anthony can talk to that to encourage them to participate in our rebate programs and the various conservation programs that we do offer. But no, we don't have a role on the front end in that planning portion.
Tony, did we lose you?
Yes.
Okay, there you are.
So this question is also for you. Did you say that Chico people use 177 gallons daily per person?
That was our 2021 numbers. So as we talked about earlier, we have seen a reduction from, well, let me pull that up again. So the 2020 numbers that we're comparing to is 184 gallons per day. We've been roughly 10 to 13% below that. So in 2021, yes, that was the number, 177 gallons per day per person. Assuming anywhere between 10 to 14% reduction from 184, we're probably a little bit below that.
Thank you. Carla, this is a question for you. If a homeowner wants to take small steps rather than work the entire yard, as you had talked about. Do you have any economically friendly steps that they could take to begin the process?
Yes, so I gave a presentation to my group, the Altica Audubon, in earlier this year. And there is a recording of that talks about thinking about creating habitat. And that's on our YouTube. It's on our YouTube. If you, put into the search box neighborhood habitat and Altica Audubon, you'll find the video. But starting small is a great way to do it because it gets you a feel for, what it takes to, if you're removing lawn, the best thing for lawn is to just let it die in the summer by not watering it, or you can smother it or dig it up, which could be a pain. But there are many free or inexpensive resources available as far as plant matter is concerned. For example, there are acorns everywhere in the park right now. So if you want an oak tree that is grown from an acorn, they don't take that long. Valley oaks anyway don't take that long. Blue oaks do take a long time. But that's one way to do it. Also, gardeners are generally very generous. So they like to share their plants. And I believe the California Native Plant Society, they do some giveaways for Paradise to help restore that land, but they might do plant sales and things like that with inexpensive plants. So starting small is a good way to do that and to save money. But in that presentation, I talked a little bit about, spare no expense all the way to picking up acorns.
Thank you. Thank you. So this question would be for Evan or, sorry, senior brain.
Anthony.
Yes, Anthony. The League of Women Voters, the California League of Women Voters had a presentation this week, a webinar on water equity and concerns about pricing and the disadvantages that some lower income families and households have because of flat rate. And then it turns out that they're often paying more per gallon for their water than some users that are using much more water. And you mentioned your rebate programs in your presentation, and often lower income households might not be able to wait for a rebate in order to get something done that would really benefit them. Are there ways in which that can be applied differently so that someone can get it up front and maybe make that purchase?
Not necessarily on the rebates, but I will say, as far as the affordability aspect, we do not have any flat rate customers. Everyone in Chico and throughout the state, as far as our Cal Water customers, are metered. And there is a tiered pricing. I saw that on another question in the chat. So there is a tiered pricing. So those customers that use more water are paying more for that increased usage. The other thing that we do offer our customers is we have a customer assistance program. So if they meet an income requirement, they qualify for a lower service charge and lower per unit rate. So it's very similar to the PG&E's CARE program. In fact, if you qualify for that program, you can automatically be enrolled in our customer assistance program. So we do have a lot of programs that we offer to help assist lower income customers.
Good. Well, I don't see any other questions in the chat. Is there anybody that has any questions that they'd like to ask at this point?
I do see one about, there's a question about whether or not we at Chico State have considered using artificial grass.
Oh, yes, yes.
We've kind of discussed it for some of our sports fields, but as far as utilizing it in the landscape itself, we're really pushing if we do have to create new lawn spaces to go with at the very least an MP rotator irrigation system, and this the MP rotator is the type of sprinkler nozzle that is one of the highest efficiency sprinkler nozzles. And if we can, also we would employ more ecomat because it's proven over the years thus far to be super reliable, and it holds up. It's basically a drip system wrapped in like a poly fleece blanket. So if there's ever a shovel that pokes through the ecomat, it's pretty easy to fix. We find the leak, dig down, put a drip coupler in, seal it back up. There is, no need for PVC glue and stuff. But so yes, on the larger scale, maybe to replace some of our sports fields in the coming years, that's a pretty big expenditure, and would require maintenance. It has to be swept, cleaned. There's infill that's applied to keep it soft so they don't fall on a hard surface. It gets really hot. It's just hot. It's plastic. So I think it has its place, but we really haven't found it yet, nor have received the funding or the overall support to put it anywhere on campus just yet.
Well, thank you very much. Okay, Sue Ellen, I'm going to turn this back to you.
Okay, well, this has been a wonderful question and answer
It has.
session. And I want to thank all of our panelists for presenting with us, and the participation of all the attendees and all the good questions. You may revisit any part of this program or the last two programs that we held on water at the League's website. And you will find a resource list on the website also. And so you can pursue more information and about water and conservation. And if any of the presenters would like to add to that list, several of you mentioned additional websites to look at, but they aren't here on our resource list, but please send them to me, Sue Ellen, and I'll be sure that they get on the resource list for ongoing presentation and the follow-up presentations that you can look at to the Chico League's, the Butte County League of Women Voters website. And I've listed that there too. So unless there's other comments or questions, we'll say good night and thank you all very much for being a part of our League of Women Voters presentation on water conservation and what you can do to make a difference. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.